Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm your host, Lisa Oligas. In this edition, we take a look at electric vehicles. We learn about incentive programs available through Liberty Utilities, talk to a local auto dealership about the availability of electric cars, as well as an EV owner and a business utilizing electric vehicles. Now, in 2022, President Biden's office released a fact sheet that outlined his economic plan and how it included a push for electric vehicle production, hoping to create jobs and fight climate change. The president set a bold goal for electric vehicles to make up 50% of all vehicles sold in the United States by the year 2030. Since he took office, companies have invested nearly $85 billion in the manufacturing of electric vehicles, batteries, and EV chargers in the United States. We begin our discussion with Derek Shadwick, Liberty Utilities Manager of Transportation, Electrification, and Sustainability, and Robin McAllister, Liberty Utilities Senior Manager of Transportation, Electrification. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So this is exciting. Now, you guys have charging an electric vehicle, a battery can take time, so a buyer might need to possibly upgrade their power at home. What does that entail? Who can qualify for a charging station? What do they need to know to get this whole thing started, you guys?
So, well, if they're at home, as simple as they come out, fill out an application online, it'll auto-generate, come to us, and we'll go through some steps to see, one, what kind of service they have. We'll give them the specs of what they need, and then they can talk to their local electrician and see where it is. If they need a service upgrade, then that's something that we would do on our end, come out, do the service upgrade. But we've noticed so far within the 6 that we have installed that so far all the homes have been pretty well off as far as service goes. And then once we get there, we just simply install it for them once they go through the steps.
So they can do kind of like a monthly fee, but they also can put in their own charging station, but that's about $1,000. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's still Liberty chargers. So it needs to be one of our chargers that we have in our program. And that's so we use that charger to help calculate their incredibly discounted overnight rate. So part of the benefit of the program, so when they sign up, they can choose whether they just pay for the charger outright for that $1,000 and just get that charger out of the way, or they can just finance it on their bill. But by signing up through our program, and if you are a driver that could charge overnight during what we call our off-peak time, you do get an incredible discount on that overnight charging rate, and that's 3 cents a kilowatt hour versus their normal residential rate. So that's why we've had so much interest in the program, because that is a great benefit to have, to be able to charge a vehicle overnight.
We mentioned the program. The Missouri has a residential smart charge pilot program. That's who you're involving folks right now. Tell us about that program, how many people can participate?
So that program, we have 500, and once that's reached, it's kind of hit a cap. So far we have 16 applications, 6 of them are installed. The program's great. Kind of what Robin was saying is that 3 cents per kilowatt hour is the main thing. It's a purpose that will get you to charge off peak, get you what you need as far as charging, and get you back on the road the next day.
So we're talking about that. Let's explain that for folks who might not understand it. I mean, when you buy gasoline, it's whatever they set the price at. But this is based on the time of day that you charge. You'll pay a different price if you're charging your car at 5 p.m. and at 9 a.m. than at 10 p.m. and overnight when you sleep, right?
Correct. So there are 3 different tiers of these rates. One is a peak time. So you'll pay a premium then. You know, that's when everybody's buzzing around. You know, the manufacturing companies are all geared up on their shift work. So it is a peak time for us. And then we have a shoulder time, and then the off-peak, and the off-peak's the overnight. And, you know, I know a lot of folks choose to electrify their transportation, whether they're one of our commercial customers or an individual, because of the environmental factor. Like, they really want to offset their carbon footprint. And the great thing about overnight charging is, and maybe some people don't realize this, but the wind blows at night. So that wind farm that we put in, there is an abundance of energy overnight. And so you could rest assured that in addition to, you know, offsetting your petroleum fuel intake, you're also charging your vehicle with the greenest of energy that's on the grid.
So what about, playing devil's advocate here, hard question, what about when we have peak alerts and we have storm outages, because we do have outages?
We do. It's important to realize that a couple of things. So first of all, when Liberty has a peak alert, that is often because of the price points of electricity that we purchase on the market. So when there is that peak demand, that when we set that out, it really means that the price is going up. So we ask customers to curb their electric use so that we don't have to pay that premium cost that will eventually get passed down to you. So it's for the benefit of all. But I know that there has been some of those brownouts or blackouts in California, and that really makes people nervous. And
It does, because they ask customers,
Yep.
don't charge your vehicles. And California is one of the states that they want everyone to have
Right,
them.
exactly.
So it's a little nerve-wracking to think, don't charge.
Exactly, and completely understand that. But statistically, an outage at Liberty lasts for about 30 minutes. Now, there are widespread outages. I'm not negating that. When you think about the tornado, so those folks, that was a long time without
Right.
power. Those are really extreme circumstances. They're typically about 30 minutes, and they're typically in one section of the grid. They're, again, not these huge.
You could maybe find a charging station somewhere else.
Absolutely, and that's why there's a lot of public charging. But another thing to realize that you can't go to the gas station either, because even the petroleum pumps run off of electricity. So if there is that kind of major outage, it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle that you drive. But there are charging stations, and hence why Liberty is installing some public infrastructure so that you may not be able to charge at home, but you can charge across town to be able to drive your vehicle.
So let's talk about that. The charging stations. You have this thing called Plug Share that's not yours, but you kind of advocate people check it. What is Plug Share? How does it work?
So there's two things. You can go to our website and you can actually see on the website as well, find chargers. Plug Share is a community-based driven / a little bit of federal driven of where chargers are located.
Okay.
It's as simple as putting in your zip code, and all of a sudden it just auto-populates all the chargers in your area, and it allows you to find what you're looking for. So if you're going on a trip, it's really nice because you can also see where all the DC fast chargers are in order to make that trip successful.
So you mentioned fast chargers.
Yes.
Not all chargers are alike.
Yes.
So what does that mean? And because you might have to wait.
Yeah.
It's not usually minutes. It can be hours in some cases.
Yeah, so level ones are incredibly slow. They're realistically, they're not realistic. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. Level twos are a step up, and they're the middle ground between DC fast charger and a level one, obviously.
And is a level 2 something you'd have at your home?
Level
basically?
2, yes, it's what we actually install in our pilot program,
Okay.
and it's also going to be one of the most common chargers you'll find in public.
All right.
DC fast chargers, we have one here in the area at Big Apple. It's one of the ones that we put in a couple years ago. It is a DC fast charger, so it'll actually put up to 50 kWh to about 65 kWh, and it'll allow you to charge at a faster rate. So you're looking anywhere from 4 to 5 minutes, 4 to 5 miles per hour on a level 1, 15 to 20 miles per hour for a level 2, and then anywhere from 100 to 200, depending on the type of DC fast charger, per hour. So it just depends, because there's tons of different DC fast chargers as well. You have 50, 180, all the way up to 350. So it's just a variant.
And would you say all that's in development? I mean, they're trying to improve that as we go this route. And just so people know, kWh, kilowatt hours.
Yes. And that's an important point. They in fact just rolled out the first 1 megawatt charger at an EV show. So they are getting faster. There's some concerns, when it gets faster, the vehicle has to take it. And so I often get asked, what do they need to know when they go shopping for the car? And there's actually 2 numbers. So if you're thinking about DC fast charging, which by the way, you only want to use a fast charger when you have to, because it degrades the battery, the more repeated use of a fast charger. So you're really only using it on these trips that you need to get a charge and get where you're going. But there's 2 numbers to look at. Is your vehicle has a maximum charging speed, and the charger has a maximum charging speed. So the Chevy Bolt that I drive, 50 kW. I can plug into a 350 kW, but it's the lower of the 2 numbers. So 50 kW is the fastest I'm going to ever be able to charge, no matter what I'm plugged into. But the Ford Lightnings that Liberty just got in our fleet, their maximum is 150. So
they can certainly charge faster than
right, but if I plug into a 65, It's only going 65. So it's the lowest of the two numbers, but really ask if you go shopping what that car speed is.
Definitely a learning curve.
Yes.
Very much
Thank
so.
you all for sharing all this information about it. We're going to talk to others about it too, but thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When we come back, we talk to a local auto dealership about sales of electric vehicles and what you need to know when shopping for that electric vehicle. As we go to break, a reminder of the Missouri Residential Smart Charge Pilot Program requirements. According to Electrek magazine, electric vehicles are taking the U.S. auto industry by storm as new models are introduced into the market. In the third quarter of 2022, EV sales outpaced gas-powered vehicles with a new record of more than 200,000 EVs sold in 3 months. Is the trend taking off in the Joplin area? Well, we find out from Jordan Correa with the Fletcher Ford dealership. Thanks for being here, Jordan.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Super excited.
So how popular are these vehicles and how many do you sell? Is it by month, a year? Are people gravitating this way?
Yeah, so I mean, they're getting more and more popular each year, as you know, especially coming in from the gas prices that were through the roof the last couple of years. So we were getting a lot of calls and a lot of inquiries, but obviously the Mustang Mach-E was the first one that Ford came out with. But they are getting more and more popular each year, and there's manufacturers, each manufacturer is also getting into that EV world, in which I'm super excited that Ford is taking that next step as well. Right now, we've only received about 10 so far. There has been some commodity restraints and some chip shortages that we've been running into, but we're slowly getting over those challenges, and we're going to slowly get more and more each day and each month and each year as well.
And someone could order one, I take it?
At the moment, no.
No? Okay.
You have no access to order on unless you are on a reservation basis only. We have been slowly getting a little more allocations for the Mach-E, so when we get one available or for one for the Ford Lightning, you can place one, but it's based off of people that have reserved one about a year ago or so.
Okay. Do they typically cost more than a standard vehicle out there?
So maybe the initial cost, there are different trim levels, as you know, so there's about probably 5 or 6 different trim levels between each vehicle as well, so they could range from even $40,000 all the way up to maybe even $100,000, depending how luxury you want to go. But the ownership cost, that's what's the most important about these vehicles. You're saving a lot more money compared to a standard gas vehicle, so it's targeted to save a lot more money on that part, so that's a bonus.
So usually when people go shopping, we all talk about, oh, what's my mileage per gallon? You know, how many miles do I get per gallon? Now we have to think in different terms if you're talking electric vehicles. It's kilowatt hours per 100 miles. Do you have to explain that to people? Do people understand? Do they have to do a little homework?
Homework as well too, and then we have to be certified and all that as well too, and it's a learning thing for us as well. When we get these vehicles in, we want to get hands-on, take them out for a ride too, and it's a part of that learning process as well too, and that's what's exciting for both sides.
So I read online that the average electric car kilowatt per 100 miles is typically 34.6. Is that true to the different vehicles? Is one vehicle maybe better than another?
Yeah, it's all relevant too, and on the personal driver, I mean, weather gets taken into account as well, wind as well too. So if you have your heater on, blasted on all the way, I mean, it's going to affect it big time, or if you're even going on long road trips. So it's just all dependent on the individual and how they drive. Just like a normal gas vehicle, if you're slamming on the gas all the time, speed racing around town, that's going to affect your miles per gallon. Same thing when it comes to kilowatts as well.
Is it true, though, that highway driving might take more on an electric car, whereas with a gas-powered car, you usually save?
Correct, yes. It will take a little bit more of a toll.
So as a buyer, we always worry about repairs to a vehicle. Are there fewer repairs or fewer maintenance items with an electric vehicle?
So far, I mean, we haven't ran into any problems yet, but it's a learning thing every day with all manufacturers still. So we're still learning every day about these electric motors and if there's going to be problems coming into it. Obviously, there's not as many parts in a standard gas motor. I said that right. There's not as many parts compared to like a gas motor to make a gas motor work, and it's just a standard battery on that part. So we haven't ran into any problems yet, but obviously we're all certified, or we have techs that are certified. So if anything did happen, we'd be able to fix that. And then as well, there is a 8-year, 100,000 mile warranty on it as well too. So you're going to be covered for that 8 years and up to 100,000 miles on that electric battery.
So for a consumer alert, though, the batteries are more expensive to replace because these power your car.
Yeah.
So what's the typical price for a replacement battery?
So I didn't even know that. I had to look this up, go to my parts department, but it's similar, all dependent on the extended or a standard range, but it could roughly be from 8,000 all the way up to maybe even 20,000, just like a gas motor. If you're looking at a smaller car or even an expensive like a GT500 Shelby motor, those are.
You're talking motor. I'm talking battery.
Oh, battery.
So the
Sorry,
batteries
yeah, that's what I meant.
themselves, I mean, at one time they were like $4,000. I saw online that a Hyundai replacement part was like $2,000. I mean, that is a bigger expense for people to consider.
Yeah.
But they do have a warranty that's longer than usual, right?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay. So we also then don't have to worry too much about oil changes.
Yes, that's another big part as well too. So you don't have to come in every 5 to 10,000 miles and have to deal with that, which it's not too big of a hassle, but you don't have to deal with that now, which is also great. But your standard wear and tear, obviously, you do have to take into account, just like a normal gas-powered vehicle.
Are they making more models? Are more models becoming available? What are we going to see in the future?
Yeah, so right now we have 3 models through Ford. In Europe, they actually have 7 EV models, but here in the United States, we have our Mustang Mach-E, which is a crossover SUV sedan vehicle, and then obviously the Ford Electric Lightning, which is the first fully electric pickup truck, and then the E-Transit as well, so you're kind of, for your businesses, be able to transport a lot of things as well too. So we have 3 models right now, and I know Ford will continue to take that next step forward. And here at Fletcher Ford, which is super exciting, we've invested over $1 million into the EV infrastructures for our dealership. So we're going to be more certified, have more parts and everything, and also have some charging stations as well too. So it's super exciting, not just for us, but also the community around us.
Well, it's nice to have an educated sales staff as well.
Yes.
So you're a sales rep for the dealership.
Yes.
What's your sales pitch when it comes to an electric vehicle? What do you tell people when they're coming in interested?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times they come to us, and we'll get more towards that too once they become a lot more out there to the public, because we don't have many yet. But if you are just doing your day-to-day driving and you're not going on long road trips, this is going to benefit you big time, just like how Liberty was talking about. You'll be able to save a lot more money, especially charging during certain times. And then as well, you're not at the gas pump, during those hours as well too. So it's super exciting for that part. But if you are wanting to save a lot more money and you're doing your day-to-day driving, this would be a great route to look into as well.
Are more people interested in hybrids or the full deal, full electric?
Both right now. I mean, hybrid's been super popular, obviously, with gas prices that were through the roof, but also these electric vehicles have been getting a lot more popular as well, too. So I think it's a little more even. Hybrid's a little more easier to get right now, but I think as we go into the future, the electric vehicles will get more and more popular.
And will the price go down the more we have and the more in demand they are, would it seem?
We shall see. I'm not too sure. I'm not the main
Can't make
bosses
that
of making
promise,
these, but yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for visiting with us.
Yeah.
And good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
When we come back, we'll talk with All Season Signs, a local business that has a small fleet of electric vehicles in use, and with EV owner Stephen Wade. As we go to break, some links to learn more about electric vehicles and available charging stations. Buying an electric vehicle isn't just for the elite. There are new government incentives to buy EVs, such as the EV tax credit provided in the Inflation Reduction Act. Our next guests are driving EVs right now. We are joined by Joe Dillard from All Season Signs, which has a small EV fleet, and by Stephen Wade, an EV owner. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So, what do you love about your EVs? Did the vehicle cost more than other vehicles when you started this fleet?
So when we were originally looking for new vehicles for our delivery program, we were just trying to price what was going to be the best option for us. And between the incentives, not only through purchasing, but also the cost savings just in ownership, we knew that electric was going to be the way to go for us for the needs that we had in our business.
So you have how many vehicles?
We have 2. We actually have one of the E-Transit full-size delivery vans from Ford, and then we also have a small Nissan Leaf. We use them both regularly. When we'll do a small install, someone needs lettering on their business storefront or something like that, we will send one of our employees out to go and install it on that. Or if we're delivering a large sign or any kind of materials throughout town, we'll use the large vehicles for that as well.
And tell me your experience about charging. So did you get a charging station? Did you have to modify
So
your place?
we were actually adding on to our building, and so our electrician actually came in and put regular standard outlets out for our EVs. We're in the process of continue working through with Liberty to get their chargers installed as well too. But we were using the chargers that just came with the machine, that came with the cars, and they're working great for us. And we still are seeing we're still seeing a reduction in our ownership cost through how we're not able to have to buy gas basically, but we're not quite there yet until we can get the finalized the deal through Liberty for their
Charging station.
station.
So you have 220 outlets. at
Correct.
the
Yeah.
moment. Okay. So Stephen, tell us your experience. You're just an individual who bought an EV vehicle. Yours is a truck?
Yep. Yeah, I was waiting on an electric pickup. I haven't bought a vehicle a few years, and my whole Ford was the first one out, and also has the longest track record. And I didn't want to take a huge risk, but it is, it's a little bit different risk than the EV.
Sure.
But so far, it's been fabulous.
So you've only had it for a little while?
Yeah, about a month or 6 weeks.
So what kind of experience? Why did you pick this? I mean, how often do you drive? What's been your experience so far and how it's saving you?
Most of my trips are to and from work and around Joplin. I probably average 40 miles a day, maybe, something like that. So I knew range was not going to be an issue with me. A big trip to me is Pittsburgh or Neosho in that vehicle typically, maybe Northwest Arkansas. So range really wasn't an issue. And we worked with Empire and put the charger in the house. And so far, I charge to 80% at night between 10 and 6. So I'm getting a 3 kilowatt hour rate. So a full fill up would cost me about $3.
Wow, that's a big difference.
So that's pretty good.
And how big is the tank if you would have normally done it?
I've got a 131 kilowatt battery. So if you were down to 30 kilowatts, put 100 in it, that's $3. So it makes that pretty inexpensive. I love not going to the gas station. It's fabulous.
And you got the charging station.
I do.
Was it easy to get installed?
It was. I had my local electrician come out and run the 220 line. Derek from Empire come over and install the charger at the house. And I typically plug it in at night when I know I'm going to be in for the evening. It automatically charges between 10 and 6 in the morning. And it really only takes me 2, 3, 4 hours to top the battery up to 80%. I have yet to have a need to charge it to 100%.
And I think there's actually some advice out there that you really don't want to all the way go to the top.
Correct.
The experts say. So, Joe, tell us about why did All Seasons want to add these electric vehicles?
So for what we do, just a lot of our stuff is local. It's in town. We do a lot of deliveries in town. We do go to Pittsburgh and Neosho and Northwest Arkansas sometimes as well too. So for us, it was based upon the cost savings. We've had both of our vehicles for just over about 4 months now, and we've saved about $1,000 just in gas purchases only for just the van. We didn't even figure out what we've saved so far in the Leaf, but for the van alone, we're talking over $1,000. So you add that up, per year, we're talking about $3,000. That's easily, between that one vehicle that we're not putting an oil change in and we're not doing those kinds of things. So even if as the cost of, maybe a cost of replacement of a battery or something might be anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000 or whatever, the expectant life span of these batteries are anywhere 10 to 15 years or 100,000 to 200,000 miles. So we know that in the long run, we are going to be able to save the cost of that and be able to purchase those if we absolutely need to.
So is there added training necessary or at least some planning? Because you've had some experience. You tried it out and you experimented.
Yeah.
What are some of the oops
Yeah. So we've, as far as getting behind the wheel and going, it is amazing. In fact, the one thing that's probably the most fun is you don't feel it shift because there's no transmission. So it's just go and you go. So zipping around town is actually really good. But as far as planning your trips out, you do really have to kind of know your vehicle. Sometimes the range is very, it's based upon, what it says it can do, but outside factors, wind, cold air, that kind of thing can change your range. So you kind of have to have an idea, okay, I know I can get to this place and back, or I'm going to go do this route and deliver these 3 things and then come back and then switch vehicles and go to a different route. And or there's been times we've stopped and charged and just planned it around my lunch break to where I just eat my lunch in the van, wait for it to charge, and then do the rest of my route.
So you can find a place that gives you maybe a 30-minute charge that'll be enough to get you going?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one here in town that is a good one, but there's a few in Northwest Arkansas. There's actually one in Miami that are fast charging. So you could almost deplete your battery to about 20% and be able to charge. I think the longest I had to sit at a charger was about 40 minutes, and that was to get it all the way up so I can make sure I could get back in town.
So you've gotten stuck once, but I mean, it really is about planning and educating yourself as to the vehicle can make a difference, though, right? The size of the vehicle.
Yeah. So with the van, the typical range is about 100 to 110 miles. When you get into highway speeds, it does change that range, but our Leaf is anywhere between 250 to 260, and so anything I have to do that I know I'm going to be out in the middle of anywhere, I will probably
Far
try
away.
to I'll try to do it in the Leaf just so that I'll know that no matter where I'm at, I'll have plenty of power to get there and back, or at least get there and then to
a charging
station. Yeah.
So Stephen, how far can you go in your vehicle? I know you said you make local trips, but have you ever tried to see how far you could go?
Not really. The longest trip I've made is to Northwest Arkansas and back. The truck, if you fully charge, has about a 300-mile range. At 80%, I'm normally around 230-mile range. And I did try one time down Northwest Arkansas. I dropped my wife at the mall, and I went to one of the superchargers because I just wanted to see how it worked. And that worked just fine.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Yep.
So how does it impact your electric bill? I mean, because you're using more electricity, obviously, than by having gasoline. Have you seen a change?
I haven't noticed it yet because I've literally just had the charger from Empire in for 2 weeks or something like that. And so I haven't even got my first bill from them yet. So
Have you, Joe?
We've seen a definite difference, but we've also, in the process of purchasing these vehicles, we've almost tripled our size of our company as far as the air conditioning and heating
Right.
of a brand new section that we've put onto the building. So some of that's also
Other
included in that
factors,
too.
yeah.
But he was talking about Northwest Arkansas. We did the math the other day, and I think for a normal gasoline engine, it was going to run, if I drove our van that gets about 15 miles to the gallon, it would have been about a $20 round trip. And for us in the electric van was about $4.
Wow,
So
big
you
difference.
look at the cost difference just in that. So
Well, thank you all for sharing your experiences with EVs.
it's been our pleasure.
thank you for having us.
Well, that wraps up our edition of Newsmakers. We do want to let you know that Liberty Utilities on the website can help you calculate your savings and what your costs would be for an electric vehicle. I'm Lisa Oligas. Thanks for watching.